Hello, my narcissistic abuse family. I'm having some lighting issues, but I think we'll be okay. Alright, take two. I am talking about an awesome topic today. This is probably the topic that I get the most requests about to speak on, the most inquiries, and in my situation, it's particularly perplexing. So I took my time and I've been doing some research about this. And, as with everything with narcissists, it's just all upsetting, So anyway, I have my DSM 5 when I was in oh. When I was in college, we were using the DSM 4 decades ago, and now we're up to the DSM 5. It's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. It's used to categorize people for insurance purposes and by clinicians across the world. I have it tabbed out like a nut job. When I was in college, I used those little post-it flags. And now I'm so sophisticated, I'm an adult. I actually ordered the pre-tabs, or they're pre-made tabs. You can get them off Amazon if you're a psych student. I highly recommend them. They're awesome. So, alright. Some of you, this is going to be a lot to process, but take what you want, leave what you don't. So, in terms of I love this term, the sideline parent. Somebody used that one. So it's the codependent parent, the enabler parent, the parent that's not the primary narcissist. I've had my own suspicions that in my situation, the enabler is probably an inverted narcissist. They say that's basically like somebody that rides the narcissist coattails. Like, they want to be a narcissist, but they don't have all the foundation of the selfishness and all the other deplorable characteristics that enable these people to forge ahead with no conscience, no empathy, no sympathy. Like, it's bananas. But, alright, so the sideline parent, the enabler, they are a codependent for sure. And to start out, I should say that codependency, it's not a diagnosis. It's more like a relationship pattern. It's a dynamic. A lot of us, as children of narcissistic parents, we become codependent. Just, it's not our fault. And, thankfully, ultimately, we break away from it because we're here. If you're watching this video, you're probably not a codependent because you're breaking away and you're doing the work to better yourself and to heal yourself. Codependent people generally stay codependent. But in terms of being codependent as children, typically codependency used to refer to situations involving substance abuse, drugs, but as children, when narcissists are involved, this can also be applicable to people with mental disorders, as with narcissists. So when we're children, we're like forced into codependency, not through any fault of our own, just because as children do, you're constantly seeking your parents' approval and love, and we don't get it, so we get forced into this twisted dynamic where the narcissist is at the helm of everything. They're all that matters. So by default, we become codependent. But thankfully, most of us break out of it. That is also an explanation for why we fall into relationships with narcissists later in life. A whole nother topic, but getting back to the enabler. Oh my gosh, this was so illuminating for me because my enabling father. Okay, so the narcissist in my situation is the female, the mother. I hate using these endearing terms to describe any of these people because I have no affinity towards them whatsoever. But, so the enabler is my dad, and I have never had any type of substantial relationship with this man my entire life, full disclosure. So if you had a parent that was salvageable, that loved you and cared about you, that's super amazing, and God bless you. That's awesome. But ultimately, this person is codependent to the narcissist if they are still married, still in a relationship with them. If they manage to break away and get divorced, that's awesome. That says a lot about your parent. So, okay. I found some great articles that covered this that I was able to kind of integrate into what I'm about to talk about. Let me just get this out of the way. In terms of the DSM, there are three there are three different categories of personality disorders. There's category A, B, or cluster A, cluster B, or cluster C, they call them. So cluster A is like schizoid, paranoid types. Cluster B is the more harmful to society, like antisocial, borderline, histrionic, and narcissist. Narcissistic personality disorder is labeled as 301.81. Meaningless information to you, but just so you know. Cluster C is other unspecified personality disorders, like avoidant. Oh yeah, and dependent personality disorder falls under category C. But in terms of what I'm speaking about, it's codependent. It's not a categorized personality disorder. This is more of a dynamic. So, in terms of my father, again, I'm not going to keep using this term because it just pains me to do so. But this man, he is absolutely 100% the codependent in the dynamic. And basically, the codependent is the person that swoops in and plays the rescuer of the narcissist. So, codependent personality disorder was typically applied to substance abuse dynamics, but now it is absolutely applicable to narcissists, and that's getting more recognition. So, the rescuer, the codependent, is constantly trying to help change, fix, or rescue the narcissist. They actually derive self-esteem and purpose through helping, through doing this. The dynamic in my twisted, dysfunctional home was really, like, you can absolutely, when you stand back and see, I absolutely appreciated this for what it was. So the narcissist was always, like, kind of bolstering the codependent enabler and trying to make him out to be, like, a big man, big rescuer. Like, that was obviously the role that he wanted to assume, that he wanted to perceive himself as playing. So she absolutely feeds into this. She's constantly, like, he takes care of the financial stuff and he cleans up her messes. And this is typically the dynamic of a codependent narcissistic dynamic. The partner provides emotional, financial, or physical support. And he does this. He provides financial support. He's the one that works and takes care of everything. When we were growing up, it was always him working. She was home, shopping. You know, that's her big identity. She loves shopping and spending money because most narcissists are superficial, immature, and materialistic as hell. So, perfect. And she's always, like, bolstering him up, like, saying, oh, daddy is so smart and daddy will take care of it. And he loves that. He feeds off of that. That's, like, his ego. Because most codependent people, they have no self-esteem. They have no foundation. So they seek their identity in this twisted dynamic with the narcissist. Oftentimes, this is speaking about the codependent, actually. They've burned bridges, they have poor social skills, or they have a difficult, or no, I'm sorry, this is speaking about the narcissist. They've burned bridges, have poor social skills, or difficult personality, which has left them estranged or isolated from other supporting people. So they get themselves a codependent, and that codependent is constantly, vehemently supporting them and at all expenses doing whatever they need to do to support the narc. The rescuers, the codependents, they're the cleanup crew. They are skilled at sensing catastrophes in the making. They're always walking on eggshells. So basically, they just protect the narcissist. Again, you see the dynamic here in my situation. The big man, he was always taking care of everything financially. He was always cleaning up her messes, advocating for her. As their child, I can't tell you how many times I approached the enabler thinking that I would get somewhere with him. Sorry, my hair. Joe just did my hair yesterday. It looks awesome. But anyway, sorry. So I used to approach him so many times thinking that he had, like kindness in his heart, decency, or, some semblance of sanity. Like, you see what's going on here, right, Dad? Like, she's being awful. And he would always stick up for her. Just reckless allegiance, just unfailing loyalty every single time. So often the enabler will sacrifice themselves, their happiness, their relationships in order to please the narcissist. And that's okay in their minds because they have decided that their identity rests in their loyalty in supporting the narcissist. So all the times I approached this man, he failed me. But as I was saying about burning bridges and being isolated, yes, the narcissist has done this. But in my circumstance, I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, the enabler is like this too. It's like they're so dysfunctional. They have such a trauma bond. It's like all they have is each other. So they cling to each other like it's us against the world kind of a thing. So in doing so, in protecting the narcissist, the codependent actually inhibits the narcissist from ever self-reflecting or facing the consequences of their actions or their behaviors. Narcissists don't have the capacity to change as it is, but when they have a codependent, like a feather in their cap, so to speak, like they have a codependent on their side, they absolutely will never, ever change because this person is essentially protecting them, shielding them from the consequences of their actions. They'll just continue being destructive and hurtful. And the enabler lets it go on because they're always protecting them. So the narcissist can make poor choices, be it dangerous, illegal, or immature. Of course, like narcissists are immature as hell. They will never learn. They will never change because they're being enabled. The rescuing actually erodes at the narcissist's motivation to change. All the while, the codependent is a slave to their fear and their guilt, which the narcissist, again, fans the flames to all of this. The narcissist's specialty is making people feel guilty, obligated, or shameful. So this person comes into the relationship with all of these pre-existing self-deprecating views of themselves. So the narcissist just fans those flames for their own benefit. The enabler's self-worth is so entangled with their partner that they're afraid to say no. They're pleasers with a high need to be needed, wanted, or liked. They have low self-esteem, they have difficulty asserting themselves, and they have a overwhelming fear of being abandoned or alone. And they don't even know who they are without the narcissist, without this role that they're playing of the caretaker. So they're desperate to feel in control of the relationship, but underneath the fixing and the helping, there's anger, shame, anxiety, and pain. It's like the perfect storm, the narcissist and the codependent, because it's just the toxicity continues. The enabler's fear of abandonment keeps them tolerant of the poor treatment, their own unmet needs, and the unhappiness that they feel. They can never change, fix, or save their partner. If there's any hope, the enabler codependent will allow the narcissist to hit bottom in order to make a change or make a difference, which ultimately will never happen in my situation because, as it says, it's like chasing the purple dragon. You've heard of that term with substance abuse, with drugs. It's like the enabler's doing the exact same thing. Like the narcissist is very manipulative, and the initial dynamic in the way that they wooed in this enabler was to pay them attention, make them feel important, all of those things. The narcissist knows exactly what they're doing. But then once they secure this person as their ally, they don't give a shit about them. They don't care about their needs, their wants, any of it in the relationship. So the narcissist just keeps taking and taking, and the enabler is constantly seeking to regain that love and affection that they initially felt that they were manipulated with in the beginning. Which is why they stay so loyal. And they see leaving the relationship as their own failure. So they'll never do it. In my situation with the narcissist and the enabler codependent, he will never leave because he sees that as a failure. They pride themselves on their whole outward appearance. They love acting like they're this happy, perfect couple. And behind the scenes, I absolutely know different. They're so miserable. But anyway, so it's often said that narcissists and codependent are polar opposites, and rightfully so, because narcissists are so self-consumed and up their own butts, and codependents couldn't be more selfless. They just want to help others. And the narcissist lacks compassion and empathy. The codependent is brimming with it. They both have, although they can be viewed as opposing personalities, they actually both have similar behaviors, including denial, shame, dysfunctional boundaries, and a need to control others. And they do depend on others for validation. So most narcissists can be defined as a codependent. That's the thing about as I mentioned earlier, codependency is not a diagnostic term. It's just a relationship dynamic. There is a term in the DSM about dependent personality disorders, but codependent describes the narcissist and their enabler, and it involves two parties being dependent on one another for different reasons with different motivations, but ultimately they're both codependent. Okay, so when the codependent stops getting their needs met by the narcissist, feeling, adoration and attention, they can quickly become angry, resentful. The codependent will willingly sacrifice their boundaries, their goals, their personal desires, their happiness in order to pursue and please the narcissist. And the narcissist always obviously loves the attention, the feeling of being everything to the codependent. Absolutely my experience growing up. So, but it's fun. I love the way this is written. It says, the initial fairy tale is actually a trap that is doomed to end in misery. And I see this absolutely, like, if you followed me and you've seen my original videos when they attacked me, it was the enabler that was attacking me, that was saying heinous things to his daughter. Like, what kind of a person does that, man? And like, I have to thank my husband for kind of inspiring this whole video. He finds my father to be absolutely reprehensible, like even worse than the narcissist. And I was like, I guess I could see that, because as one man commenting on another man, like, I see that. Like, my husband is an amazing dad, an amazing husband, all of those things. And absolutely, he has room to commentate on this. So, that's basically it. I just wanted to go, I have notes because, and I whacked myself in my red lipstick with my notes, so you could see that. But, codependents typically don't see ending their relationship as an option, because they, as I said, they equate their worth to what they do for the narcissist. So, you know, making the narcissist happy and keeping everything intact for this person is the codependent's entire personality. In my experience, you guys, when I was younger, when I was like an adolescent, you know, you going through like skin issues and all, I had the worst acne ever. And my codependent, creepy piece of garbage father used to take the opportunity of sitting down together at dinner to just totally destroy myself and my older golden boy brother. But he used to, like, at our expense, he would absolutely humiliate us and destroy us. And it was like, to this day, I'm 40 years old and it still hits hard. But aren't, like, your own dad doing that? Like, that's so messed up. But this is like how sick and disordered and delusional the codependents are. He sees himself 100% as like her savior, her hero. So all of his identity is invested in this toxic, twisted dynamic. So if you're in the same situation, you have the same dynamic going on. I'm so sorry. It sucks. We have no parents. But if you have a salvageable parent, maybe your parents got divorced, that's awesome. Good for you. As I said, take away what applies to you. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. And I hope this was of value to you. Please like, please subscribe. That means a lot to me and I appreciate it. We're bumped and we're bruised, but above all else, we are blessed because we're coming out of this terrible cloud of oppression and we're better people because of it. So I love you guys. I'll see you soon.